Good evening students. In this video I am going to explain Introduction to Folk Literature subject, and in this subject we are going to see Unit 2 Historical Approach to the Study of Folklore. So folklore is about the past. It is made up of two words. One is folk and another word is lore. So folk means actually this word was coined by William Thoms. According to Cambridge Dictionary, folk means typical of a particular group or country. Lore means instruction to Old English. And folklore defines knowledge and tradition of a particular country or particular group. And this is a brief about historical perspective to the study of folklore. And folklore includes what and all it includes. It includes folk tales, myths, legends, etc. based on the culture of a particular group once folklore is built. History actually expresses the culture of the particular community to the past events. Writers from Europe also, they were influenced by the stories from India, and actually later they also written in the same pattern. During 19th century, folklore became famous, and in 1812, Jacob Grimm and Wilhelm Grimm published Children and Household Tales. It is the oral folk narratives actually, and actually both brothers collected those tales and compiled and published as a book. The ancient Greeks wrote tales, and they but they instead of folklore they called myths. The only difference between folk history and academic history is nothing but only the medium of communication. In oral history, one cannot lie, and it will not be boring because the speaker or the narrator is going to face the audience directly. And even the audience are aware of the content of the stories. In ancient Greeks were the first one to discuss about the folklore, but they called those stories and those content as myth. And in the same way, Chi was developed in China, and in the same way, other countries also developed this type of pattern in various names. Roman historians talks about the traditions and customs of German tribes in the book Germania, and in the same way Japanese also. European writers were also influenced by Sanskrit texts, especially Panchatantra, Kadasarit, Sahara, etc. Folklore became the source of many authors like Boccaccio and Geoffrey Chaucer. These writers retold many folk tales in their works. Humorous stories were also famous and entertained the audience. These stories were also passed from one generation to another generation. Example, fools cutting the branch on which he was sitting. And history is based on the authentic information. The term historiography refers to the theory and history of historical writing. It is the past event details, and history gives details of what happened, when happened, how it happened. On the other hand, folklore includes traditional creations of people. It is an oral tradition, and folklore is history or almost as old as human society. Until 200 years before, the folklore was transformed orally from one generation to another generation. Later, these stories and songs were collected by the scholars and compiled. And this work was first started in Europe, especially Germany during 18th century. And through history and folklore, we can visualize the culture and tradition of the particular country or particular community. History must have evidence and proof of the events, but folklore doesn't have because it is transformed from one generation to another generation. Thank you students. Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching.